Hello, my name is Sebastien, and together with my colleague Peter, we're broadcasting today from beautiful Mount Wellington in Tasmania. The title of our presentation is Are Universities Truly Ready for CALD Students? And we're going to talk about the CALD program at UTAS in the context of the National Widening Participation Agenda. Let's start by giving you a brief introduction to our program. Firstly, we'll define CALD, which stands for Culturally and Linguistically Diverse. In other words, we're talking about Australians who were born overseas or born in Australia in multicultural households, which is different to international students. In practice, almost all the assistance we provide goes to students who are non-native speakers of English, which highlights the importance of the linguistic attribute of the CALD cohort. The cohort totals approximately 900 students per year across all our programs and campuses. And it's interesting to note that out of this number, close to 20% are from former humanitarian background. And this reflects the fact that Tasmania as a region is seen by the government as a preferred resettlement area for refugees in Australia. And finally, we have 2 officers servicing this cohort from the campuses of Hobart and Launceston.
Now let's talk about what we do and a bit about the program's history. So first, in 2007, 2 CALD support roles were created, and their main focus was on helping a group of students from CALD backgrounds who have been struggling in the system for some time. The aim of the roles was to remedy some of the students' deficits in order to help them complete their studies, and subsequently the CALD program was created. At that early stage, the CALD program sought to make mainstream university services aware of the needs of CALD students by differentiating them from international students, whilst at the same time highlighting their specific needs and advocating for equal service provision. Then, very quickly, it became apparent that some of the issues CALD students were encountering, such as lack of understanding about university culture and requirements, insufficient academic skills, and limited pathway advice, could be addressed through earlier or pre-application engagement. As a result, we expanded the CALD program and adopted a whole student life cycle model, including a comprehensive outreach program in collaboration with local high schools, colleges and TAFE providers, which helped to better inform prospective students, their families and the CALD community about university study. To an extent, we also addressed the issue of English proficiency and preparation with the development of a pre-entry voluntary test for academic English and individual English assist, now called student learning consultations, which occur post-commencement on par with international students, which is central to the ongoing success and retention of students. It is also worth noting that English proficiency testing for CALD students is not mandatory in tertiary education, like it is for international students, such as IELTS requirements. However, some universities are now moving towards post-entry language assessments, or PELAs, so in a sense, UTAS is innovating with a pre-entry English assessment, albeit with a voluntary one. Moving towards the present. Whilst we still offer our CALD students support throughout the student life cycle, we're now also focusing on promoting the value of CALD students at UTAS, and hence have moved from a purely deficit model to a valuing diversity model. Another one of our current aims is to improve the student experience for the CALD cohort, including mentoring, social engagement, leadership opportunities, etc., which seek to empower CALD students and the CALD community more broadly. Using our experiences in supporting CALD students and recognising their diverse skill sets and experiences, we've also been able to promote cross-cultural engagement across the institution. For example, through the Global Perspectives project, which has embedded cross-cultural competence, including experiences of CALD students, into first-year Faculty of Health Science curriculum, and the Community Friends and Networks program, which actively supports the interaction between local, international and CALD students. What do we hope the future holds for us? Hopefully, institutional improvements will be made to better value diversity, which will benefit all equity cohorts. Specifically, we hope that one day a clearer connection between UTAS graduate attributes and CALD students is realised. How can one contribute to the other? A two-way process. Secondly, whilst enabling pathways for university have enormously improved in Tasmania over the years, more flexibility with these pathways in terms of duration, focus and study mode would be very beneficial. And of course, clearer admissions processes and protocols, especially as it relates to English proficiency standards, could be established not only to empower people to come to university, but ensure that they have acquired the specific language skills needed to succeed at university. This would also help immensely. We'll keep exploring the CALD program in a moment, but let's first consider two key attributes of the CALD cohort. Firstly, from the point of view of their academic performance and transition to university, CALD students are considered an at-risk cohort. Evidence shows both academic performance and attrition rates are below average for this group. Secondly, CALD students as graduates tend to be less successful than the local students in securing employment that matches their level of qualification. This is particularly acute in regional areas such as Tasmania. This is the key for us. In our experience, so many CALD students come to university with the hope of securing a better job, yet universities largely fail at making this dream materialise. Hence, this is an area we think a CALD program can make a difference. So let's see some examples of that. Originally, we started connecting CALD students to the careers service at UTAS for them to learn basic job search and careers literacy skills. Then we moved to developing some specific initiatives, so CALD mentoring programs. We also actively promoted volunteering to CALD students and also promoted CALD students as volunteers to local organisations, for some of which it was a new thing to have CALD students and a diverse range of volunteers. Also, in our early interactions with students, we introduced a focus on the Australian job market and the concept of career. Nowadays, we have successfully rolled out a career skills series of workshops targeting CALD students and international students, which interactively delivers career-related content and provides networking opportunities with former students. In this career space, that we've also discovered the needs of CALD students and international students are in fact similar, insofar as understanding the Australian workplace culture. And in the future, our dream is to develop some joint employment programs with industries, targeting CALD and international students.
So this gives you an idea of what we do. But let us go back to our original question. We were asking whether universities were truly ready for CALD students. Well, we argue that the national widening agenda is not doing enough to improve outcomes for the CALD cohort. Simply increasing the number of CALD students coming to university and improving their academic performance, in our opinion, forgoes other opportunities. Here we've reorganized the various initiatives with the earlier ones at the bottom and the later ones at the top. This group of earlier initiatives we're showing here is what we would classify as being part of a traditional widening strategy, with the academic focus ones on the left and the workforce integration on the right. But moving up, here you can see there's other initiatives which, combined with the earlier ones, we believe are putting ourselves in a position where we can go beyond widening and deliver what the CALD students really need, which is integration into the university's academic culture and integration into the Australian job market. that's not everything. We've been thinking about how we can best action this model. Going back to these two features we mentioned earlier, we asked ourselves, what would be the main contributing factor to the CALD students' performance in those two areas? To a great extent, we believe the answer is a lack of connections or social capital. Upon reflection and looking closely at our program, we realized the importance of individual connections, both external and internal to the university. Developing the program required us to cultivate an extraordinary amount of relationships over the years. You can see here each initiative has a number of enablers attached to them. In other words, we had to expand the social capital of the university for the benefit of the students. So we believe here lies the key to helping CALD students to get the most out of their university education. We need to find better ways for CALD students to leverage these connections we've established to expand their own social capital. This can be done by carefully designing how we deliver our services. For example, by maximizing the opportunities for CALD students to interact with people both inside and outside the university during their time as students. So ensuring CALD students benefit from the university's established connections is the real widening. This leads us to our conclusion, which is our vision for every CALD student coming to university. And we hope that what they get is a combination of three things: academic success, a key to a career and professional integration, but also some connections that will activate these two things.
Thank you for listening, and again, we're sorry we can't answer your questions in person, but would like to leave you with a few questions. Firstly, does your institution actively engage with CALD students and recognise their specific needs? If so, do your initiatives go beyond widening participation? Please give us some feedback on these ideas. And finally, in a climate of reduced funding, what other strategies could we use to go beyond widening participation for CALD students? Thank you.